start off the biggest match of the night with some sick guitar solo music, and it is going to be Stats versus INnoVation. And INnoVation bopped this guy, GSL versus the World. It was 3-0, so Stats, he's looking for his revenge tonight.
These two players make it so deep in high-profile tournaments so often that they do end up beating each other in critical moments, which is why in the round-robin last season this was such an exciting matchup. It is in this round-robin as well. Head-to-head, though, INnoVation has the crushing victory, 21-13. Don't know if the total includes Brood War stats as well, but they hit each other in Brood War quite a bit in Pro League. So these guys have faced each other often, and you could say there's a rivalry here in terms of how often they play each other, but it's really less of a rivalry and more of a Stats frustrated that he keeps getting knocked out by this guy who's got great TVP, and he was destroyed in GSL versus the World. He was defeated at IEM Gyeonggi, and in a recent GSL semis, I think as well, was taken out by INnoVation. So there's just, INnoVation is the better player right now. He's so dominant, and at this stage, you know, you look at how many titles he's won, how dominantly he's won them. It's crazy. It's absurd. He went through the entire GSL versus the World tournament only dropping a single map. And, you know, the guy is dominant.
Disgusting.
He's defending champion. He won the TVT against TY 4-0. He then, you know, when you look back at the SSL finals, he won that with a 4-0 as well. In these high-stakes matches, he wins the series without a smile, without emotion, holds the flowers with the awkward camera shot. Well, there's no nerves in high-pressure situations. There's no fear. There's no mistakes. It's robotic, which is where he gets his nickname, the Robot.
Stats look like, it looks like he just woke up too, which is not good. INnoVation,
Little
no
smirk.
doubt was partying last night after his victory, is coming in here, and he's got some bags too.
He's certainly no perfect angel in this tournament, dropping several maps, losing the series to Deer against that innovative PVT style. The Dark Loss as well is a very heavy one, as you and Rapid cast there. You know, the Ultralist run-bys, the late game struggle there. This is his worst performance he's had in a while, and he's still top 4 with a 3-2 with a +3 indicator. So this is not the dominant run that he had last season. He will not, very likely, unless crazy circumstances occur, win first place for regular season, but he still looks to be a dominant player in and outside of this tournament, winning his GSL group, only dropping the 1 game to Scarlet with the 4-1 victory there, crushing through GSL versus the World. Is this player the best in the world right now? I think you have to say yes.
Yeah, I think definitely. Like, especially after GSL versus the World, it's like, oh, you just stomped another tournament. Not only did you win it, but you only dropped 1 map, as you mentioned. And he's a big favorite to win this again. It doesn't matter if he's in first, even if he's in 4th, right? As long as he just makes it into the playoffs. That player that's in 3rd is going to be shaking like, oh, crap, I got to face INnoVation in the first playoff match. When I'm 3rd, generally you're thinking, okay, maybe I'll face off against Stats.
Yeah.
It's Deer, Classic, one of these guys, but you got to face INnoVation. That's not a good feeling. And
no, certainly not.
He should win this matchup. We saw how dominant he was over at GSL versus the World, but after this, he's got a couple of Zergs, Biol and Solar, and then has Classic for round 9. So favored in pretty much every matchup that we have here at SSL.
Yeah, and you would expect that even going into any matchup we could have had, even the losses he took, it would have been tougher series, but he was going to be the favorite no matter what. Abyssal Reef will be our first map. It's going to be that, then Ascension to Ire and Odyssey for our 3 maps.
Yeah, looks like the game is ready. It is all set up. Let's jump into game number 1 of Stats versus INnoVation right now. Fly better fly, Jin Air. And up in the top left, the yellow Protoss. He's got a big opponent up against him, but he is a big opponent himself. It is Stats.
And his opponent to the bottom right, it is INnoVation. He has won 7 premier titles in his career in StarCraft 2 alone. To mention, of course, his Brood War play we saw, really good Pro League play out of this Terran player. But I think it's time to talk about something that I think a lot of people don't want to talk about is, has INnoVation eclipsed the legacy left behind by Incredible Miracles MVP, who had 8 premier titles over a 3-year career from 2011 to 2013, 4 GSLs, a BlizzCon championship, 1 IEM, 1 MLG. He had the Triple Crown. He won WCG. He went to Europe. He conquered that as well. Was there anything MVP couldn't do? It was just yesterday, in fact, that INnoVation passed MVP in earnings, $400,000 to $404,000 after the victory of GSL versus the World. He's 1,000 prize money ahead, but it took him a lot longer to do it. INnoVation started his StarCraft 2 career in 2012, and it's 5 years later that he was able to eclipse what MVP accomplished. He has 2 GSLs. You could call GSL versus the World his 3rd because MVP winning GSL's World Championship back then was his 4th GSL title officially. And INnoVation has taken that title too now. So basically he's got 3 GSL titles, 2 IEMs, including one here in Korea, and the SSL win. He's also won WCS, which is essentially a BlizzCon. So this player, I feel like, is very close to eclipsing MVP. And people have to consider that if he wins this tournament and the GSL, if he wins both, I don't think there's any question anymore. And it's something that I think we have to keep looking at and keep talking about as we approach the end of these 2 tournaments. Because sure, what MVP did was a little bit more dominant and in a shorter period of time, but he never got that 5th title. It was taken away from him, and life actually defeated him there. The Royal Roaders stopped the 5th GSL win of MVP. And that legacy is something that will never be lost. But has INnoVation eclipsed it? I think we have to consider that if he wins these 2 tournaments, then he certainly has. And it's just something that's really cool to think about because this has never happened in StarCraft 2. The only person who was close to MVP was Nesty. Life came a little bit closer, but not as dominant as INnoVation is now. And it's really cool that we're in this stage. But let's jump back to the game at hand. I just really want to throw this kind of this idea out there because we really do have to give the consideration.
I think definitely if he wins these 2 tournaments, which he is a big favorite in, GSL is going to be hard, and SSL should be a bit easier for him just because of the format. Seems to work pretty well for him. And we'll have to wait and see. But either way, guys, back to the game as we were talking about. And this probe, it sneaks through and gets a pylon down. It's being focused down, though, and is forced to cancel. So yeah, that is a very nice focusing by INnoVation, able to get that down. I
mean, it's almost like he wanted it to happen. Everything is his INnoVation plan. He kills the pylon, or forces the cancel, rather, as you said. Targets down the Adept. Mothership Core's got to get out of here.
He was looking for the Stargate.
Targets it. Oh, man.
It's okay, though. He's targeting all of these Marines, and the Oracle is going to do critical damage in the main. There's nothing to stop this at all.
The medevac, instead of a Viking, too, he just doesn't know, and he killed all the Marines. The Widowmine's out of position. He needs to evacuate SCVs. Now, this is not game over by any means for INnoVation, but he still does have to try to panic and hold on here. Cancels the medevac, starts the Viking. 10 kills here on the Oracle.
What a great start for stats. This is one way to defeat a player like INnoVation, especially in a best of 3. 10 kills basically for free. Your Oracle has sustained 0 damage, and you have a second one coming up. The Reaper, it was so close to scouting that Stargate. It was millimeters away. But INnoVation decided he needed it for the defense and did not get the scout. He did not have the Viking in time.
It looks like INnoVation just didn't realize what it meant that Adepts kept coming across the map. He was like, well, I guess if you're just going to keep trying to trade, I'll get the better trades. I'll trade my Marines.
You know, he went to scout. He just didn't see it.
He didn't identify it exactly, and that's why he started the medevac instead of the Viking. And then he canceled it, of course, once he realized, once he knew. This was not without cost for Stats, though. He did have poor trades with his units against the Marines to try to get that SCV value, so his army count is low. He has very few Adepts on the map. Did lose his Mothership Core. We'll get a few more kills with this. Looks like he wants to sack it, in fact. You know what? I don't even think he has to. I think this gets away. Wow. But, you know, this is not without cost. Did he remake his Mothership Core is the big question. No, he did not. Because the follow-up attack for INnoVation that's going to eventually head across the map is going to be the scary part. Liberators will harass. He will get something done with those. But the big thing that's missing for INnoVation now is the stim. TechLab added as I speak, but you know, that's the thing that's going to prevent him from doing the big counterattack with the stim and hitting the third base of stats. It's actually even chasing with the Vikings here. Does identify nothing else is being built from that Stargate.
Yeah. sees the location too. He can take it out if he really wants to. Going for a tank here is kind of interesting. Wants to mix that in. Tanks are really good on Abyssal Reef in general. Fantastic for holding your natural, and pretty good against the Blink Stalkers if you can get enough in position. Is going to create that third base in the main as Stats. He looks like he wants to go for a Blink play into the main. And INnoVation is going to need more.
And he doesn't have stim.
At home.
He doesn't have stim, and that's when Stalkers are the best against Marines. Obviously, they outrange them, and they have more hit points. Stim is the only way that Marines can really tango with them with that extra DPS per second. He has the vision. Blink is complete. And it doesn't even need it here just yet. Will actually blink his way in after killing that Viking. Looking for this CC now. Already killing the building SCV. Stasis Ward in position. Double Stasis Ward.
Look at the units for INnoVation. There's just barely anything. Blinks the Widowmine.
That's
He runs into the Stasis Ward.
The money stasis there. But the Siege tank in position. A lot of DPS coming out from the Cyclone. With the Marines, you would have think you definitely could have held here. But with those in stasis, no way. And now the CC has to be canceled. Only a Liberator doing harass on the other side of the map is all INnoVation has, all he could say that belongs to him. GG, Stats. We'll take the first game here. We talked big about the champion. We talked about him eclipsing the run of MVP in terms of prize money. But in this series, Stats is the one who takes game number 1.
Just doing Protoss things, you know, INnoVation. He doesn't seem very happy about that, actually. So maybe one of the more frustrated faces we've ever seen of INnoVation, but yeah, that's a really frustrating way to lose. You get so close to scouting it, he sees the location after, he's thinking in his head to himself, he's like, oh, if I just went a couple of steps further with my Reaper, I would have scouted this, I would have had a Viking out in time. And yeah, that's really got to suck for INnoVation, who, again, this is a best of 3. Stats takes a quick win like that, as I was saying, and we could see INnoVation at 3-3 if he doesn't come back in the series.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and this is also the information he couldn't obtain was the Blink Stalker follow-up. How could he have known? He makes the tank after he identifies it, but it's too late. Gets only the 1. He's like, okay, I think you're doing a follow-up attack. I don't have sim. I need tanks to defend any sort of aggression that comes out because I'm taking a third base. At least he put that in his main base. That was one thing he had going for him. But if the Marines were not in stasis, targeting down that siege tank might have caused him to lose enough Stalkers to where SCVs come out, the next tank pops out, and maybe he holds there. But the stasis is really cool, and extra DPS coming out from those Oracles. Very well executed here by Stats. Not necessarily his follow-up plan from the beginning, but his transition to it after the initial damage from the Oracles, the trades he took against the Marines. INnoVation just didn't have enough, and he didn't know, and there was no way for him to find that information. So let's go ahead and jump into game number 2, guys, on Ascension to Ire.
Game number 2, jumping on to Ascension to Ire. Down in the bottom right, winning game number 1, the yellow Protoss from Splice. It is Stats.
And up to the top left, in blue, his opponent. Defending champion of GSL versus the world and SSL, it is INnoVation. 405 grand in the bank from this player. As I mentioned, from StarCraft 2 alone, money earned by STX when he played under the ID Bogus, not even counted in that. You have to assume at a decent salary with the Alive game that was Brood War at the time. And players like Flash rumored to have making nearly $500,000 a year salary. He was probably doing pretty decent. He says he likes INnoVation, and the other guy likes Stats. So left to right there. I didn't see what the bottom of the sign said.
It said that he is Protoss.
That's why.
The guy who is cheering for INnoVation, actually, because it had the arrow pointing at him. Funny the way that works. Guy cheering for someone who is not his race. You know, front runner. It's like cheering for the Yankees.
You know, not enough people do that in esports, as it turns out.
Not enough people are front runners?
No.
Would you like more front
They don't
runners?
cheer for the Yankees. They cheer for their nation over the high skill. A lot of that going on. Rip. The claims of the faceless Koreans. Not true.
Well, they definitely do have faces. That's for sure.
I guess you figured it out.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are totally wrong for sure. They have faces.
They don't even wear masks except when they're sick sometimes, but you can see most of their face.
Yeah, I mean, you can easily disprove that argument if you just look in the bottom. We do have cameras on the players who do have faces. So
I know you guys are
Sorry,
staying
guys.
up all night to watch SSL because you are the best fans and you are the hardcore fans that will watch the best players in the world.
and we got some people in Europe, no doubt, and maybe even on our side of the world. Where
Yeah.
in Europe it's, I guess, around 2:30.
I know we have at
In
least
some parts, I mean, I know there's more than one time zone. But
we have at least one person watching from Korea. Hey, Rapid, what's up?
Hey, Papa Smithy was tuning in earlier.
Yeah.
League of Legends
All right,
caster.
we got
was
two of
texting
them.
me.
We got two of them.
I saw some Korean guys chatting in the chat.
All right. We got maybe 6 of them. At least, so you got the people in the studio here
Yeah,
watching
we got people in
live.
the studio watching live.
That's right.
That's true.
Westerners and Koreans together to watch the best players in the world. So putting our focus back on the game, it looks like it's going to be the identical opening in terms of harassment with the Adept. Unfortunately, misses the shade here. Going to get booped back. Oh, doesn't get the boop into the Marines he was looking for, but
That's
still.
an unfortunate boop. That means that this Adept might get away.
I think it barely gets away. 2 more shots.
Oh, that sucks.
The Oracle's not proxied, it's in the main base, and he didn't kill the Marine, so this will never do as much damage as what we saw last game. I think Stats has already identified this. We'll make the 3rd base. Adept was killed by the Reaper at the end of the day, and the Reaper will come over here and see the 3rd base, so INnoVation is just 1 step ahead.
Yeah, he's going to be in a good spot in this game, and I would say that favors INnoVation. Just getting into that macro stage, allowing him to become the robot, and
Yeah, he's just
get
oiling
far
the
ahead
gears, man.
with his macro.
He's downloading the firmware update.
Yeah, it's okay. Not going to get fooled again.
That's
you
right.
Put that song on last
I
night.
did put that song on last night. Won't get fooled again, man.
Yeah.
This is not going to be...
Oh, no, you put on
Pinball Wizard, but
Yeah.
But when we were listening to this music together, We Won't Get Fooled Again turned on by the auto playlist. But anyways, Oracle here, as you say, as the Who said, INnoVation will not be fooled again.
Well, he kind of got fooled. He moved out as the Oracle came in. That's 4 very meaty kills for the Oracle as this push is coming across.
But this is the bigger problem. The push, as you say, is coming across, and there's nothing here to defend, not even a pylon in position. Void Ray's coming out, but that's not even halfway done yet.
What
Stalker
if you could
Warp in.
overcharge a building pylon? Let's
Well,
add that to the game.
Used to be able to overcharge the Nexus. It's a little bit
Yeah,
different
let's
now.
do that. Come on, why aren't you overcharging?
Okay, he's even going to bunker with this. I figured the SCV was here for a reason. Does have the detection on the Widowmine. That's a nice bonus, but he can't actually get in range to snipe it, unfortunately. If he loses this Nexus and his army, he's going to be in tough shape. But the Pylon lives.
The pylon living is huge. It's going to give him so much defense. You can see that those Marines can't really fight. They're being kited. The Widowmine goes down. Fantastic targeting by Stats. Now there's
The
a Void
bunker's not
Ray.
complete either.
The
He didn't
bunker's
get
not
it.
ready. This push is not going to work. And now the focus on the Vikings, too. Does Stats have enough to fight this?
It
The
looks
answer
like he
is
does,
yes.
and that's going to be the end of this army. And INnoVation is in deep trouble now. No 3rd base, no army to speak of. The bunker goes down without a cancel, and this Nexus survives. He gets the better trade. Now he has the better economy. I feel like INnoVation got a little bit too frisky with his micro there. He was trying to kite into the Nexus, take it out, move against the Stalkers, took a lot of extra damage, but wanted to kill the Nexus above all else. Didn't want to wait for the bunker, wasn't willing to, and perhaps backing out could have been the better option, but he didn't know the Void Ray was coming, he didn't know how destroyed he was about to get, and now Stats in fantastic position. INnoVation No stim, not even started. Only now the tech lab's coming down. The tech here for stats is incredible. He's going to have the extra gateways he can now afford. Glaive started. He cancels it. He wants Blink instead. And we may have a very similar game to the last one, but the counterattack or the follow-up attack here for stats. INnoVation is not going to have that stim.
The Blink is really fantastic for controlling the mid-game. It allows you to defend very easily against any kind of Liberator harass that could get INnoVation back into the game. It allows you to keep the Terran on 2 bases for an extremely long time without having to go all in or get too aggressive. It just offers you so much power for getting very far ahead. So I do like the choice of the Blink over the Resonating Glaives right now, especially because that stim is late. It's just going to make it even better. Definitely the right choice for stats. And we'll even give him mobility to get over to the map a little bit faster if he wants to put on that pressure. But for right now, he's totally fine to just macro up on 3 bases. He's not in a rush to go kill INnoVation. He knows he's got a nice little lead here, and he's just going to be sitting on that for now.
Yep. 2 probes go down. The third one was a little bit lucky.
Stats. Look at that. He's like, okay, I mean,
he doesn't have
get a couple
yet,
of kills, but I'm going to wait on the other side. INnoVation, though, with the moves, does somehow sneak out of that one.
So high level.
What a play.
So sick.
We're not biased towards INnoVation, I swear.
I mean, that was good play from both players.
Yeah.
That's why I was getting hype. I was getting the so high level. Both players making all the right moves. It's like we're watching Korean StarCraft 2 in 2017.
As if... Well, Combat Shields is going to finish first. He did go for double
the double tech
upgrades.
lab and went for both at the same time. That's why the shells start as Combat Shields finish.
This third is coming down for INnoVation. It looks like Stats is totally fine to just let this happen for now. He is moving across the map with some Stalkers, but it's only his Stalkers. And that control of the mid-game is not really making a huge play with it. Just going to try to harass a little bit with the Stalkers. And 3 Cyclones, funnily enough, will cancel this 4th base.
Yeah, he has a lot of units, but if they're not there when the Nexus goes down, if the Cyclones spot it first, we'll get the cancel. Ooh. We'll pay for it with the Cyclones, but those units losing value the longer the game goes on, so he'll be happy to take the trade, especially with no probe nearby. Saddest Marauder I've ever seen. Finally trying to use this mobility of the Stalkers. Looked like he wanted to take the dodgeball principle to its fullest, though, with the Blink. He wanted to catch the ball, not throw the ball, to get the win, to get the out there, and that's what allowed him to safely, without taking any damage realistically from the Liberators, get the double Robo Colossi, the Charge Zealot upgrade. He's skipping Adepts entirely. We're going to an old-style Wings of Liberty, Heart of the Swarm composition, Storm as well, and he's taken all the greedy things he can because he knows INnoVation's on the other side of the map. He verified that. But where he isn't on the other side of the map is at this 3rd base, and yet again, INnoVation forces a cancel.
Yeah, he's taking good trades, too, against these sentries. He's doing as well as he can in the position that he's given. Does lose one of his medevacs. But yeah, delaying the 7th and 8th gases with the composition that Stats is making with all of those high-tech units, with the Storm, with the Colossi, is going to be very, very valuable for INnoVation right now. He's buying a lot of time, and he secured a very easy 3rd base. He's keeping it 3 bases versus 3 bases for an extended period of time, which is always going to be good.
INnoVation is doing all the right things. Extending the 3 base versus 3 base, as you say. He's going to advance ballistics when that fusion core is complete. He's going to stave off the Zealot harass. I think just got the single SCV there. He's researching all the tech that he's going to want to have in the late game. He knows that during this stage, killing Stats is not a possibility, but he took the small advantages.
What is this fight?
It's a little bit weird there. It looked like he realized more units were coming up. Storm is done, but there's no Templar with this army. Prism speed has started, which leads me to believe we're going to see the High Templar in the Prism. It was an old tactic to shield the High Templar from EMPs back in Wings of Liberty, but in the future, we almost never see High Templar with Storm in this matchup, and if we do, they're just vanilla on the ground. But the Prism speed, it gives him more harass options and can allow him to protect the High Templar if he wants to make that the meaty part of his army. Because now Protoss has access to 3 forms of AoE, the Colossi, the Disruptors, and the High Templar. It's going to be the latter two in this game. here come the Storms. They are ready, and if this
Yeah.
army is just clumped up, it is going to do a serious number on the Liberators.
He's got 5 High Templar. It looks like 3 are with this army, as 2 are over at the 4th base, and he's just keeping INnoVation on his toes. He's trying to get some more harass damage done with this Warp Prism. Coming into the main, it looks like the speed is finished for that Warp Prism, zipping by.
Yep, and it can zip out. He's making 2 more back at home and a Phoenix.
And he's making a move towards this 3rd base as well.
Okay.
INnoVation is ready with the advanced ballistics that he did finish up.
That makes it much more difficult to actually get Psy Storms off, and those Zealots in the main base, they certainly were extended to ire, as it didn't end up being the most efficient harass. They're only killing 9 SCVs, and it looks like the Prism did fall, but he has 2 more, in fact 3 more on the map. He's just making them non-stop. Tempests are going to be the tech of choice with the Fleet Beacon completed. We're seeing air weapons +1. We're going to Supreme late game in this matchup now. Prism is going to find 2 turrets here. We'll actually get the 1 Zealot out. That's all
alone.
Feels like my Brood War drops recently with Remaster. I'm like, oh, I got the 1 Zealot on the top of the siege tanks. So what?
Still no answer for the Liberators.
Ooh, this is not a fight he wants to take.
Yeah. Again, just trying to draw INnoVation out of position. He wants to come in towards that 4th base, scout everything out. Still has all of his upgrades on the way. Stats is totally fine to take this very late game kind of play. Adds his own 5th base at the same time.
The next step for INnoVation, you have to imagine, is going to be Ghosts and Nukes. I mean, you can't get any late gamer than this.
He's going to need some...
Oh, this is not where he wants to fight. He needs to get the Liberation Zone set up. Uh-oh, Stats backing off now.
Oh, man. That's like what he did to Dark in this series.
Really good staggering up the Liberators. Not so much in this case, but it doesn't matter because the army's already away. He's not afraid of Storms. He can start taking pot shots onto the high ground with the ballistics here. And Stats is in trouble now. I don't know if this is what he wants to take.
The storm is huge. It has so many of the Liberators in the middle, and the Tempests are still alive. But a really nice concave for INnoVation. More Storms, though, on everything that INnoVation has, and the Colossi stay alive. Stats will hold.
The Storms were incredible. Without those, he can't kill the Liberators quickly enough to actually win the fight. Now that they're dead, he moves in, drops down another Warp in. He might be able to take some control of the map now, and I was talking about the late game ghosts we might end up seeing and nukes and things like that, but now INnoVation is just scrambling to rebuild his army. He doesn't have a massive bank lead or anything like that. He only has the 4 bases, a 5th never taken. I suppose that's probably a CC to the top of the map that he wanted to eventually float. No, it's actually the factory. Never mind. But he's going to want to consider adding another one soon as these bases start to get low on resources. Stats is taking another one right now, as the Observer is about to show you guys, just to the right of this main army. He's just taking more Nexi, building the better bank, having the cost-efficient trade there. It's so much more expensive to replace the Liberators than it is to, say, Adepts, Stalkers, and Zealots on the ground. High Templar are expensive, but he saved the majority of them, kept those Colossi alive, so doesn't need to expend as many resources to remax. Can spend those resources on other things like the Plasma Shield upgrade he's grabbing, the +3 armor.
Yeah. Stats' army is going to be so high-tech compared to INnoVation's. INnoVation is basically just Marine Marauder Medevac with advanced ballistics. Liberators is now adding in some Vikings, but he only went up to 5. So there's not much that can deal with the now 6 Tempests that are in the sky for Stats, along with all of that AoE that he's got. This doesn't look too scary because there's no Archons, no Immortals in the mix, which is, I guess, in my opinion, what makes a Protoss army look scary. But definitely is quite intimidating when you're staring this one down.
The DTs now with the Dark Shrine done, just stopping the expansions. It's the lifted main base here. He didn't make any additional CCs, but it's going to force several scans to be used. The turret just finishes in time here. Okay, Liberator's getting picked off, and if he tries to hard engage, there's Storms waiting. Don't forget, too, that the Liberators have been unsuccessful getting harassment done because he made that 1 Phoenix. Every time the Liberators try to harass, the 1 Phoenix chases it away, gets the kills. We saw that happen several times in this game already. Liberators getting shut down at every turn by this Phoenix right there. And this is whittling away now at INnoVation's army. He has the concave here, though. Storms, the first one, decent. The second one, very nice. He dodges it, though, for the most part. And he's starting to pick away at these Tempests.
I love the kiting though of Stats, right? The Liberators could not get into position. They're basically doing nothing here, and Stats is getting so many free kills on the back of this.
Yeah, Vikings are so important. Without them, he cannot fight the Tempest. He can't pick them off with Bio, not with Storms available. Great arc here, but again, the army is just too small. The Protoss army.
The DTs.
That's it.
There's
DTs.
nothing for the DTs. That's just going to be a GG. Stats 2-0's INnoVation. And the caster curse is real.
Well, you know, we talked about his dominant form. INnoVation had a tough time in this series, but he did just have the title yesterday. He had to play every matchup on his way there. The TVP, the TVZ, and the TVT there finally in the grand finals. He went through everything in an exhausting, long tournament format. Went to the after party, then had to come straight here the next day to play his matches. Stats did play in that same tournament, was defeated by INnoVation yesterday, but could have taken that as a learning experience. And yeah, we're talking about MVP, the legend of StarCraft 2. He was not impervious. He dropped games, he dropped series throughout his run, dropping series even in WCS EU. Like, you know, these things do happen, but Stats was the better player tonight. That late game was really good. The Storms on the Liberators that you called out, man, that was really the turning point there in the game.
Yeah, I love that he doesn't get out of control. He doesn't go for any big counterattack at the third. He's like, yeah, I know I'm ahead of you, and there's no way for you to punish my Storm, Colossus, Tempest, Dark Templar army. So it was pretty cool what Stats there, showing a lot of confidence in the late game up against INnoVation. We will have an interview with the guy who just 2-0'd the big man. It is Stats who's the big man tonight.
So she said, I noticed you're wearing shorts today like Valdez does on After Hours. Why is that? And he said, Valdez is the coolest. So what she really said is, you and Dark have now both defeated INnoVation. How do you feel? With INnoVation's recent tournament win and me losing to him in that tournament, of course referring to GSL versus the World, with that in mind, it felt like I had a good idea and I had some inspiration from my loss, and I figured out how to beat him through that, and that's what led to my victory. Kind of like what we were saying just moments ago, is learning from that loss and taking it into a win. So, INnoVation passed by, gave a smirk. So talk to us about your preparation for this match.
일단 그걸 첫 번째로 그러면 생각을 했고요. 그리고 또 너무 이렇게 무난히 가면은 또 신경이 상대로 안 되겠다 생각을 해서 첫 번째 판처럼 이렇게 전진 무난이라는 전략도 이렇게 쓰려고 생각을
So
했는데
I focused on his habits, what makes him strong, and if he has a comfortable time in the early game and setting up, becoming the robot as we were saying, then it seems like that's his strength. He leads into a strong late game from his mid game. So I tried to harass him, be aggressive early in the early game to kind of break the robot. So in game 2, a bunch of Liberators actually came into position before you had Storm. How did you deal with that situation? He said, honestly, I knew it was coming, but when they were getting closer and closer, I doubted myself. Maybe I'm going to lose again. Maybe this is it. But he actually says he didn't know he was going to win, but you know, he won the fight when Storm was done, and that's what led to his victory, as we were saying earlier. Playing out of his mind, as soon as you hear programmers speak of forgetting their hands and not knowing what was happening, but just playing perfectly. So he seems to be uncomfortable in the in-game chat with his opponents. I suppose this refers to the lobby chat. Will you be doing more of this sort of banter? It depends on my opponents. I actually forgot who I'm playing against later, but I'm going to take the humble approach in the chat. So actually, mistranslation there. He was being cocky, not nervous in the lobby chats, but we'll be more humble in the future. So you're currently in first place with this victory. What are your thoughts on potentially grabbing that finals, winning regular season?
이번에 정말 앞으로 경기 얼마 안 남았는데
I was so impressed with how comfortable he looked getting the first win, getting the win on the gauntlet. So I want to have the same experience, having that extra time to prepare and feeling good, cool, and relaxed. So he is hoping to take that first place spot so that he can have that extra time. And that's the interview. So Stats, a little bit humble, a little bit cocky, all at the same time, but he just defeated the defending champion of SSL 2-0.
Yeah, so guys, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, Bjol versus Hero once again.